the first time in a long time that Elgin's goofy ass has been quiet. Like Elgin usually don't stay too quiet for nothing. Like what happened, man?
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
A bug got underneath your cap tonight? Or what's
man. Do you need Buster's album again? I mean,
nah, man.
Yes. Welcome. What's up? What is up? Back once again, it is the Incredible in the Black podcast. And in case you weren't aware, this is a podcast dedicated to covering the current events and social issues going on in your Black world and covering it all from the perspective of three grown-ass men who understand that police actually can show some self-restraint. I am your host, Big O, Mr. in the Black himself. But as usual, you know I can never do this alone. Let me introduce the rest of the Jackson 5. Crush, say what's up, man.
Good, everybody.
No doubt.
You
going to be Tito? Okay, that's Elgin, say what's up, man.
Yeah, what's good, family? I don't know who the fuck y'all talking about.
And if you're checking this out on YouTube, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It goes a long way. Make sure you subscribe as well so that you don't miss out on the next video. And please help us to subscribe and follow us across social media at In the Black PDCST on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and all that other stuff, man. But before we jump into the show, because we had a great time yesterday night, before we jump into the show again tonight, El, please tell these good folks how they can become part of the family if they want to become part of the family, man.
Hey, man, it's important, man, for you folks who follow what we do, man, to support us in this fashion. Head on over to our website, man, www.intheblackpodcast.com. In the right-hand corner, click Become Family, which should be Become a Member of the Family tab. Click that, and then you'll be able to become a part of our family, man. We got all types of swag, shirts, t-shirts, bath towels, bonnets, whatever the hell you may need. There's also a Patreon aspect that you can just donate some dough to what we're doing, man. And we really sincerely, in all jokes, man, do appreciate you folks who do donate, who do support what we're doing. But in order for us to become one of the bigger platforms and go places, it takes money to do that. So stop being cheap and throw us some change.
Thank you, Elgin, for that. I know that our fans appreciate your honesty. So tonight we are going to jump right into the conversation that has been stemming since yesterday, the same time, a continuation from yesterday, where we talked about the insurrection, the almost coup that almost happened in our nation's capital at the Capitol building yesterday. Yesterday, when we had our conversation, we discussed how at the current moment, we were in a fog of war, so to speak. The details would be coming out and we'd be able to understand what happened, what didn't happen, and get clarity on who the players and movers and all those other things were as things came to fruition yesterday. Things have not gotten any better for the president. Things are looking much, much nastier for him, given everything that's happened. Yesterday, it was one victim, a woman that was shot by Capitol Police and died, and 4 injured. Now we have to add that there are 4 that have died. I think 5 now, because not too long ago, not too long ago, Capitol Police, it was announced that a Capitol Police officer died. This officer was actually attacked in the Capitol building and struck on the head with a fire extinguisher, and they unfortunately ultimately had to take him off life support. Because our homie Crush wasn't with us last night during our conversation, I'm gonna let him start off. What were your thoughts about everything that transpired yesterday, man?
Well, I mean, I can't say that, I'm entirely surprised or shocked at, what went down. There were, the seeds were planted, and it was, flames were fanned consistently. And, the players actually even made themselves known before this day. and to see the brazenness, this almost psychotic sense of entitlement take over, this mass of people. It was astonishing. You know what I'm saying? It was astonishing in that sense to actually witness, a mob mentality like that unfold based around, pure fantasy. It was amazing. Just how deep stupidity can go. Like it can get into your soul and just rot it to the core. Your whole moral compass out the window. Your whole sense of any social decorum out the window. I can't imagine getting to that state over a man, over some. I can't. It's inconceivable. And yet, here we are. But at the same time, it looked like just a psychotic tantrum. It was sick. It was sick. I'm sorry for the loss of life. But it's hard to have any sympathy for the people who went there. But for that Capitol police officer, my condolences to his family. It's very unfortunate. But it's just inconceivable that in my lifetime I would see somebody, see one man hold such sway over people.
Yeah.
Through pure fabrication. It was, but he wasn't alone. That's clear. He was enabled. But what I saw yesterday was white power.
No bullshit.
I saw white power, dancing free like someone's drunk uncle. It was insane.
No doubt. Elgin, as the smoke has been clearing up on this whole incident, man, have your thoughts changed, evolved, gotten worse? What's the deal, man?
My thoughts have only changed from the standpoint of I made comments yesterday stating that I felt like Black folks should stay out of this fight.
Right.
And I still feel that way to a degree. But what I also want to add to that is Black folks have to be mindful of white retribution in the cases of this, man. Because again, white folks who are amped up on white supremacy are always going to look for a way to flex their muscle in some form of power, man, some form of fashion. And the number one way that white supremacy rears its ugly head is always through violence. Always. Historically, it's always been through violence. So if they can't commit those acts of violence against each other, who is the next likely people that they're going to do it to?
They're going to do it to the people that are powerless, folks that really can't fight against them. Yeah.
So we have to be incredibly mindful of that. So I know I made the comments yesterday, and I'm not walking it back per se. I'm just adding to it that Black folks need to be incredibly cautious in this season, man, of outward displays of white supremacy, because that's what it was yesterday. I think I'm deeply disappointed in some instances that another instance of white supremacy showing up, that you have people like, oh my God, I didn't realize it was this bad.
It was this bad, right?
God. And then I got, other people talking this two America shit. There's two Americas. There's a white America and a Black America. No, the fuck it's not. It's always been one America. Motherfucking Black folks have just been living here in some form of capacity. So I just think that what people like us have to make sure that we do is put these discussions in this historical context, that we actually give a platform and a sense of direction to folks to say, listen, man, there have been other instances of this, and we can even use situations such as 9/11, when, that attack took place here, how white supremacy reared its ugly head and went to foreign countries and bombed the shit out of other folks without any fucking evidence about their involvement in the actual terrorist attacks here. White supremacy does that, and it's really disturbing to me how we have responded to that. I still feel like we're powerless. We don't have any power to inflict any real change. We begging other motherfuckers who don't have power to remove Trump from office. I mean, this motherfucker back on Twitter. I believe he's back on Twitter tweeting now.
Well,
like he back already on some bullshit.
Well, they gave him 12-hour suspension, and during that period, he had somebody else as part of his team or whatever.
Is Farrakhan back yet?
Nobody's letting Farrakhan come nowhere back to anywhere.
Okay. You kicked Farrakhan off, but okay.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. But anyway. So I think what's been getting me is seeing once again, and we said it in the early aftermath of it yesterday. But what's really been getting me is watching some of the voices that have now come up and start acting like they're part of the solution when we've always known that they were part of the problem. Lindsey Graham last night, part of the problem. Helped to be an instigator towards the president, helped to lift up this shit. As I said last year, been quaffing
the president to fight hard.
Right. Quaffing the ball hairs of Donald Trump for how many years? And now all of a sudden he's saying that, well, now we can't go this route. This is not the type of people that we are. This is not the type of behavior that we need to display. Mitch McConnell said the same thing. All these other folks coming out. We have people like Elaine Choi is her name, the wife of Mitch McConnell, who is the Secretary of the Department of Transportation.
Yeah.
She stepped down from her position.
Good fucking.
You only had 12 days left. You were leaving anyway.
Everybody's rolling out.
I've done that before. I mean, you ain't do shit.
Right. How many times that we've been on a job and we were
wow.
I'm taking my vacation time now.
It's gonna be empty halls by the time he did.
But I'm saying there were a bunch of people today, all of a sudden. Elaine Choi and Mick Mulvaney were the two highest in terms of cabinet to say that they were going to step down in protest of what happened yesterday. Mind you, Mick Mulvaney is the same person that said that the COVID epidemic, the COVID was what did he call it? He said was a hoax of the Democratic Party to try and dethrone Trump. So you have him stepping down and saying that, hey, he's doing it because what happened was a bridge too far and he can't be in line with the president. But once again, you were quaffing the ball hairs. You see what I'm saying? So all of these voices that have been raising up all of a sudden just sounds like games and being hypocrites or just trying to take advantage of the situation at this point because they don't want the stink of what happened yesterday to take
all they can do. It's the only card they can play.
Because they got money to try and make after this president leaves, and they never expected that it was going to be this bad.
No one's going to be left at the end.
My God, people are acting like this is brand new. Do we remember that during the election that they had Trump people try to run a Biden bus off the road, like damage and throw it like this shit was happening already. People knew what time it was.
Had a whole murder kidnapping plot for the governor of a damn state. Like,
no, I want you to address Carmen's statement.
I know. My name is Elgin. I don't know shit about that. Shit. My name is you don't know a female Elgin. I know that shit right.
I don't know too many guys named Lindsay, and the ones I do know, they are troublemakers. I'm gonna just put it that way. But yeah, like I said, it just seems like a bunch of hypocrites at this point, and I think that's the part that really enrages me. Now, outside of that even being the case, the president, I think someone, honestly, all bullshit aside, man, I think someone medicated him, stuck maybe some Xanax or something in his Big Mac or in his Coke or whatever, because he put out a statement earlier today. And now the statement is actually pretty lengthy. It's almost 2 minutes and some change, but I think it's very important. I'm going to play it now. I think it's very important that we play it in its entirety and then we dissect it after we come back.
I would like to begin by addressing the heinous attack on the United States Capitol. Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. I immediately deployed the National Guard and federal law enforcement to secure the building and expel the intruders. America is and must always be a nation of law and order. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. We have just been through an intense election and emotions are high, but now tempers must be cooled and calm restored. We must get on with the business of America. My campaign vigorously pursued every legal avenue to contest the election results. My only goal was to ensure the integrity of the vote. In so doing, I was fighting to defend American democracy. I continue to strongly believe that we must reform our election laws to verify the identity and eligibility of all voters and to ensure faith and confidence in all future elections. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power. This moment calls for healing and reconciliation. 2020 has been a challenging time for our people. A menacing pandemic has upended the lives of our citizens, isolated millions in their homes, damaged our economy, and claimed countless lives. Defeating this pandemic and rebuilding the greatest economy on earth will require all of us working together. It will require a renewed emphasis on the civic values of patriotism, faith, charity, community, and family. We must revitalize the sacred bonds of love and loyalty that bind us together as one national family. To the citizens of our country, serving as your president has been the honor of my lifetime. And to all of my wonderful supporters, I know you are disappointed, but I also want you to know that our incredible journey is only just beginning.
So, hearing that, what were your initial thoughts, man? Go ahead, Elgin.
Fuck that dude. Come on, man. Clearly, bro, it was in many shape or form, like Valerie stated, it sounded like a call to action. There was a lot of, platitudes and gratitude and shouts out to his supporters and highlighting them supporters and all the good work. But then it was all this other fluffy type of stuff. And I'm never going to give him credit in any shape or capacity because I think he's a piece of shit. So I'm not even going to say anything positive about it. I just think, a broke clock is right.
Twice a day, right? I see. I see.
Sometimes shit floats. Sometimes it's flushes. I don't know. He's
so
worthless.
before I get Crush's thoughts, man. I mean, I think it's interesting because I got into a conversation. I won't say a debate, but a conversation with another homie when this statement was released earlier today, and someone said, and he said that he believes that the president. It seemed like the president finally realized that he went a bridge too far with inciting these folks into rioting and all that other nonsense. And I said,
can we talk about your weird ass friends you got, bro? Because you got a whole staple of weird ass friends. I mean, I never heard you have
but you know what's
friends
funny?
who, have weird sexual relationships with white women. You got a bunch of,
eclectic guys.
You got all types of weird ass friends, bro.
His Rolodex is strange, man.
Hold up. I find it very interesting that you two, my friends, are talking about in my Rolodex. So I guess you
can take my call right out of here.
You know what I'm saying? I'm informed and intelligent. I'm not like those other guys. I'm not like those man.
Whatever.
I got that cockazoid binary lifestyle thing going on. You know what I'm saying?
No, so basically what I thought was very interesting, like I said, he said that he believes that he finally realized it was too far. And I said, no, I think that he was medicated. And the reason why I say I think he was medicated, and I'm not being facetious when I say this, the reason why I think he was medicated is because reports have shown that yesterday, when all of this was happening, even though we already talked about the mayor yesterday had requested the National Guard the day before, and how he sat on it and said, no, DOD should not allow the National Guard to come out. They said it took 6 people, including his daughter, to come in and beg him to finally allow the National Guard to be released into DC. And ultimately, he didn't even do it.
No.
Mike Pence is the one that gave the go-ahead. So all of that nonsense he was saying in the video was like, okay, like I think Rhea said, it's like it was all teleprompter shit. All teleprompter shit. Somebody wrote it for him, and that's the end of the story. You know what I mean?
A formality.
Essentially, it was a formality. It was a big formality, my guy. Let's take a step back and let's really look at what caused all of this. What happened yesterday? All of this was caused yesterday, honestly, because Black people took control of themselves and voted in this election. Because we took Georgia, because we took over Pennsylvania, because we did all of these things. Because Stacey Abrams took it upon, put Georgia on her back and pulled that away from the Republicans for the first time in 30 years.
So you're saying what took place yesterday was a response to
people taking control. I think so, because let's be honest with you. What have you been hearing this entire time? It hasn't been anything other than the election was stolen. Stolen by who? Because it wasn't white people that helped to steal this election. Because we already know that there were so many white people that have voted for Trump, even though they despise his behavior. Even though they wouldn't allow that dude at his at their dinner tables, he was good enough for their wallets or whatever the case was, and that's why they voted for him. So who was the one that stole this election from him?
No, I don't listen.
I'm just saying that's my perspective.
Yeah.
You don't think the Black people helped to do this, man? Or am I tripping? You think I'm tripping?
I don't
like
think.
I'm tripping.
Yeah, I do think you're tripping. I don't think Black folks. I don't think what took place yesterday was a response to Black people. I don't think they came and stormed the Capitol as response to Black people rising up and voting in Georgia. I don't think it was that. I think it had more to do again with a white supremacist rallying his people around their cause. I think this would have taken place regardless of if Warnock would not have won or not. Them white cats were still going to be out in the street doing the same shit regardless. It had more.
That, but if he won, it would be a different story too, right? Maybe. Especially if they won Georgia, for God's sakes. Come on, my guy.
But I'm not one who puts that much of an emphasis on us winning Georgia, because I don't think it holds as much weight as we want it to hold.
Why do you say that?
Because again, it's not the first time that we've been in this position where we've had a Democratic run and led Senate. I mean, we act as if it's a guarantee that us having a Democratic led run Senate means guaranteed improvement and betterment for Black lives. And I wish
those are two separate arguments, my guy. Betterment for Black lives is one thing. Taking advantage of mobilization and getting out the vote and messaging, I think that's a separate thing, which helped to win the election.
But winning the election means that change should take place based off of someone Black and progressive getting in office. That means Black lives should improve, right?
That's what we want. That's why we elect people.
And so, and I'm saying that's what we want. That's why I believe that we have such a affinity for what took place in Georgia, because we desire and want change to take place. But I don't think them white cats went out in the street and destroyed the capital of America because Black folks won Georgia.
Okay. Crush, what are your thoughts, man?
No, they were definitely inspired directly by Trump and several of his circle. There's not much more to say.
I think one of the most interesting parts about this whole situation, at least that's getting me, is that there's been a loud clamor. Nancy Pelosi earlier today said that she's calling for them to enact the 25th Amendment. Essentially, the 25th Amendment means to take away power from the president and ultimately give it to the vice president or whomever is down in the line of succession, because the president cannot feasibly do or handle his duties.
Right.
Now, part of the problem with that is that they're wondering how that can work, because the 25th Amendment is initially as it was created, was supposed to be applied to when the president is incapable, physically incapable of doing his duties, meaning he is in the hospital, in a coma, whatever the case is, and can't fulfill his duties as the president. Not because he just seems like a nutty buddy today and y'all not happy about it. I don't know how that's going to work. Not to mention there's 13 days. How long did it take for them to go through the process of impeachment and all that other stuff beforehand?
We don't have enough time.
We can have a 2-week process,
we
right?
don't have enough time for this process. We don't have enough time for that process.
Not only that, but what's the point at this point in time? It's 13 days. It's a demonstration of how powerless these motherfuckers actually is to actually do anything to hold folks accountable. We got 13 days. Are you trying to enact this? And even we're saying 13 days. It's not as if they would file this and then all of a sudden it's in motion and it's happening. It's going to be a number of days for that to actually take place, for it to jump off and pop off. It's pointless at this point in time. It's just making these people feel good and look good, and they just doing some old pandering shit.
I like what Carmen is saying, but Carmen, I know Carmen is always about that smoke. Carmen wants to talk about how he drove black men to vote for Trump or whatever, but Trump increased his numbers all across the board the past election.
Black men and black women
went up. Black
the distinction
men
between the number of black women and
gays,
black men
numbers went up. Latinos numbers went up. So Carmen, it's facts. Black men went over there, and more black men than last time went over and voted for Trump. But more people in general went over to vote for Trump, which still is daunting to me. But that's another.
Fuck them too. All the people who did vote for that.
I'm glad.
White, black, blue, green, and whatever gender.
I'm glad that Elgin could put the stamp on it the way he did it. Fuck those people too. Now, what do we expect to happen? I think we can close it out on that. What do we expect to happen now that we've witnessed what we've witnessed? We know that people are trying to implement the 25th Amendment. We know that they're trying to impeach him. What do you think will happen given what we've heard so far?
I think people are going to try to do those things. I think they're going to try to push for that. I think the rhetoric of the enacting the 25th Amendment is going to be, more and more in the news. I think they're going to push more of that. But again, I don't think that does anything. That's not a form of accountability. That's more of some sort of consequence for that. Because if he gets impeached and gets out of office, he gets out of office a couple days earlier. How does that really hold him or any of these other people who were involved in what took place at the Capitol accountable? Tell me you're going to enact the 25th and then you're going to lock him up. So that was part of the argument at this point. What they're pushing is not just impeachment, but indictment. Now, how likely is the indictment part? I'm very, very skeptical that any Congress, regardless of how pissed off they are, to be very honest with you, is going to go after him to indict him. Why do I believe that? Because it holds a precedent for the next person behind him. So it's like, okay, well, if you can do this to that party, you can do it to my party, and I don't want that shit happening to my party. That's usually how they protect themselves and watch over each other, because it's like, okay, well, you know that the weapon could be turned against you at any time. So one of the things that I thought was interesting also is we have all of these countries that have been coming out. I have a friend of mine, we all have our circles of people that do have these interesting jobs. And one of our friends has a job where she goes to these different third world countries and she helps them and talks to them, their governments, to try and help them to build democracies, show them how to write a constitution, all these other things. So how do you think these third world countries are looking at us now when you got motherfuckers storming into the Capitol building because an election lost? How are you going to tell El Salvador that they can't do that shit? How are you going to tell Iraq that they can't do that shit?
I mean, some of these, I got people in my family that fled countries that did that same shit in their parliaments and shit. In the House of Lords, cats scrapping with swords and shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yesterday, Elgin, 9+ coups and civil uprisings in my country since 1960. And how you
want democracy? Is that what you want?
Y'all should chill out. Y'all should chill out. Nigga, shut the fuck up. I'm cool on that shit, yo. I'm cool. Y'all can go back. I'm cool on that shit. I'm cool.
The biggest part about that, though, is that America is very similar to the banks back in 2008, right? Like when they bailed out the banks. At this point, internationally, America is too big to fail. You get what I'm saying? Because if America were to fall apart now because of the way it has hands in so many different things, it would destabilize the globe. Let's keep it all the way funky. America has its hands in so many different pies.
No dynasty lasts forever, man.
That's true, but I mean,
No
I don't
dynasty
think
lasts forever.
let's keep it 100. We're talking about a dynasty in comparison to the Roman period, maybe Great Britain and all that other stuff. The way the world works has never been as global as it is now. No country lives onto itself anymore. There's
Something
no
has
business.
to happen. It has to happen. I'm not saying it has to fall. I'm not saying that because I don't want, the feds to come kicking in my door.
You know they listening, my guy. You know they listening. Google listening to you. Alexa listening to you.
Something has to give, man. And I know I continue to harp on the race component of this because I think that's a fair indication of what we saw yesterday. But to forcibly enter into a place that you're not welcome to is a crime.
Trespassing is called one of those things.
It's a crime, and doing it in a federal building is a crime.
Yes, it's a 20-year crime if someone gets injured or killed in the process of you entering that federal building against rules. So there's been some states, though. I think Northern Ohio and the District Attorney of Northern Ohio and the District Attorney of some part of Western Virginia said, if you left our jurisdiction to go to this protest and were involved in it, you are going to be prosecuted once we get the evidence to the fullest extent of the law. And what people are saying right now is that there's going to be twofold. The feds are going to come after you and hit you over the head. Who's going to get you first? Because it happened in DC. So the district attorney of DC, and then the federal government is going to get you. And then whatever jurisdiction you live in is going to come after that head top too. So I'm hoping that, like the young man that they caught on camera that was wearing his work ID as he stormed the federal building.
People already losing jobs.
Losing jobs left and right.
People getting sued too. People getting sued also. Yeah.
Okay.
People getting kicked out of their homes. Sure.
Listen. I think that, we didn't ever answer the question. I want to know so we can wrap this up and put a bow on this, man. What do you think we can expect within the next 13 days? Why do I ask that? And you can go ahead and answer after this. People think that it's going to get worse before he leaves, that he's planning something else before he finally leaves. What do you guys think?
I don't think he has to plan anything. I think anytime that you instill this type of rhetoric and type of mentality into a group of people, so at some point in time, the leader actually loses control of the group, and the ideology and the mentality and the perspective begins to lead the way. So even if this motherfucker gets on the news and says, hey, don't do anything, you've already created a monster. You already created a Frankenstein who is now running rampant and who have their own protector. I believe these motherfuckers are going to do more and possibly much worse in these next coming days.
What do you think, Crush?
Yeah, I think the same thing. The one thing that struck me and my wife when we saw the footage of the crowds was that there were far more Trump flags than American flags. And so it's clear what they're believing in, even more so than the Constitution or democracy. They're not believing in democracy. They're not even believing in whatever God they chose to believe in. They're believing in that man and everything he says. And
we didn't even touch on that. So let's not. All the hosts of evangelical Christians that came out this past day, man, and we're storming the damn DC. Anyway, those are Elgin's cousins, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I want to say thank you to all of our folks in the comment section. We got some of the most informed folks on all of the interwebs. Even with our homie Carmen, as she always wants to bring smoke to us every single time she shows up. All the smoke. I don't want none of that smoke. But
cornucopia of smoke.
Yeah, with that being said, Elgin, why don't you take it off from here, man?
Man, Back on August 23rd, Jacob Blake was shot in the back. There was protests. He was shot in front of his children. It was captured on video, like most of these acts of white violence are taking place. He's currently paralyzed. He doesn't have any feeling down his legs. But just a couple of days ago, the district attorney in Kenosha, Wisconsin, decided not to file criminal charges against the police officers in the shooting of Jacob Blake. Again, this is another display, another example of America flexing its muscle and showing how they can terrorize, murder us, shoot us, paralyze us in whatever capacity they choose to, whether it be shooting us in the middle of the night while we're sleeping, whether it be carrying a bag of Skittles and drinking an iced tea, whether it be selling Lucy's on the corner, whether it be any of those things, and absolutely get the fuck away with it. And the sad part about this is it's actually flying under the radar a little bit because of what we've seen in Mayo Fest 2021 yesterday. It hasn't gotten the attention that I feel if that wasn't taking place, that would have gotten. But again, I think we're in such a almost hopeless position when it comes to these things. And I'm going to keep my more radical aspect of my thoughts to myself because, but there has to be a change in approach and methodology in Black responses to these types of things. I'll say that.
Okay. I mean, before we let Crush jump in, I want you to expound on that a bit. What do you mean when you say a different approach? Because I'll let you talk for yourself.
Oh, okay. Well, in many cases, I believe, for one, there should be more community policing in our own communities. I think we have to do more of a better job of policing and protecting ourselves and our communities.
Does that mean having more Black police officers in our neighborhoods, or
absolutely
us just taking our own?
No. Okay. And no, not whatsoever, because data has proven and shown over the years that having more police officers or more white police officers living in Black communities does absolutely nothing to affect the relationships between police officers or the crime rate in those particular areas. We have to do something different and have to begin to have a different level and method of displaying our outrage and our grief and our anger. These motherfuckers yesterday were upset because somebody legitimately lost an election and ran up in the Capitol. I'm not advising us to do those sorts of things because we know if it would have been us, it would have been slow singing and flower bringing.
Yes, sir.
But what I'm saying is we have to get a better set of rules for how we address these particular things in our community. Because again, I've stated on this show before, this will not be the last time that we have a Breonna, an Aubrey, a Jacob, a Tamir. It won't be the last time, but we continue to respond in the same fucking manner. We call Benjamin Crump. We call Al. We do all this type of stuff, and things. And I just think that we got to do something different. We got to do something different. And I don't disagree with Carmen saying that officers should be required to live in the community police. I think there's some validity to that. I think there's something to it, but that's not the solution to us being in the position that we find ourselves. It can be helpful.
Crush, go ahead, man.
Yeah. This is beyond exhausting to hear about yet again. And I'm in complete agreement with Elgin. That something like that did cross my mind. As I reviewed different articles about it. I felt myself kind of running into circles with what the response was like, and I thought we were in a different place, but with this, but we definitely need an approach from a community level, from a legal level, that is ironclad and unshakable, reliable and adaptable and changeable, for our circumstances. To rely on what is now can we consider archaic methods of dealing with our pain is only is almost is almost par for course for the system now. We do it so much it doesn't matter. We do the same thing so much that they expect it, and so it doesn't matter. And even the media is now expecting it, so it matters less. I think it's unfortunate, but we definitely have to switch our tactics with a completely different plan.
I think it's interesting because it seems like the methodology of how they release this type of information has also changed. If you've noticed, it happened with Breonna Taylor. I think it happened with Breonna Taylor specifically. And then it's happened again now with Jacob Blake, that before they make these announcements, especially if they know that it's going to go contrary to public opinion, they already call out police and National Guard and issue a curfew beforehand because they know. So, and most times that information is released before the actual announcement is made. So you already knew off jump, even if you didn't have that inclination before. Once that information was released, you know that it's already kind of, it's like, all right, we're going to get that bullshit. Now, they say they have over 40 hours of tape. The district attorney said there's over 40 hours of tape that he looked at. And they have over 15 witnesses that said that Blake pulled a knife on the officer. I don't know about you guys, man, but that 30 seconds that we saw, and I think 30 seconds has probably been the more popular video that's been circulating, but it's like 5 or so minutes and it's in some of the other videos.
Yeah.
I don't see anything from the video. I'm not a district attorney. I don't play one on TV. I don't play one on the podcast. But there's nothing from that video that told me that a man going away from someone deserved to be shot in the back. That's just me. Not to mention, after we had this conversation also during the Breonna Taylor case, or the initial parts of it.
Sure.
How they found that one witness to say that, hey, yeah, that we were justified to do X, Y, and Z. So how many witnesses did they find cajole, strong arm to put this into place?
But even in when they find multiple witnesses, they decide which witnesses' story they're going to use.
They're going to use and which is not going to be used.
To their case. I think that the thing that really troubles me, and it shows how nefarious the other side is. If there's 40 hours of tape, if there's 15 witnesses, if there's all these things that you have used to show that this police officer who we saw shoot Jacob should not be charged, then to help establish better relationships between Black folks and law enforcement, to repair or somehow reconcile that relationship, show the motherfucking 40 hours.
Yeah, all the different angles and everything that you talked about.
You have to begin, if you, in order to foster better, you have to show all the cards, because we have 400 years of data to back up us not trusting y'all motherfuckers. So in order to build that trust, be open and honest with us. But you can't, because then if you be open and honest with us, you show the flaws and the cracks and how tainted and leaning the system is towards. They don't want justice. And again, in these situations, I don't know what justice looks like for Jacob. I don't know what justice looks like for Black folks when they find themselves in this particular situation. I don't know.
The price is just too high for them to deal with true justice. The price is too high for them.
Sure.
It's too high. And guess what? I guarantee you, whatever that price is, we've been paying that every fucking.
It seems like all of these district attorneys, probably with the exception of Mosby in Baltimore, because they damn near tried to ruin her life after she tried to prosecute those police officers.
Yep.
But it seems like for the most part, these district attorneys start from the premise of protecting the police officers and then working backwards from there. So it's not, when we hear them trying to actually find justice, whatever justice may look like, the perception, and I'm being very generous when I say the perception, is that they want to protect their officers because of that incestuous relationship that the DA office and the police have, and then work backwards from there to say, okay, what ways can I make sure that this dude doesn't go up the river? And we're not talking about a case like that happened in Missouri where that one dude had raped like 40 black women that he had arrested. We're talking about someone where there is some level of gray in there, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how you can bring together a community or try and what's the word I'm looking for? Try and resolve the issues within a community when you're never fully transparent with that
Never.
ever.
Never.
So if you show me,
and you expect trust, you expect it. Don't you dare expect it. Don't dare. Don't even dare.
I don't ever want for us to underestimate the power of us seeing Black bodies being killed repeatedly. I want people to begin to examine and pay attention to the effectiveness of such propaganda, the way that it makes people feel. It is a paralyzing type of thing to repeatedly see people who look just like you being killed, raped, and murdered, and no justice get done. So it's no wonder that most of us have a docile type of perspective, and that's not a slant or a knock towards any of us. I understand the trauma that is produced by these things, but it makes complete sense that we tend to bristle at the thought of an eye for an eye, or protecting ourselves, or self-defense. Whenever violence is brought up about us defending ourselves, oh, no. We can't do that. Law and order. Like,
I can dig it. I can dig it because you don't want to. We've been taught that you don't want to be that angry Black man, that angry Black woman. You don't want to be militant. I know you don't subscribe to that. And I think of the three of us, I don't think we really subscribe to that narrative. But there is that unfortunate push, because far too often when we see incidences like this happen, you have police officers go into communities with ice cream, and then you're told, why don't we come together, kumbaya, shake hands, hold and hug? And then when there's someone that happens to stand out against that whole narrative, they're like, no, we have to unite right now. That's what we need to do. We need unity in this country. We don't need to be separated. Mind you, this country has been separated for over 400 years in one capacity or the other. So,
hands and feet and clips is what is on the menu. Hands, feet, and clips is what I got for every. Listen.
No doubt. Crush, why don't you help us close out the night, man? What's your topic, man?
Well, I came across an interesting piece of news in the entertainment world. Our homegirl, Danai Gurira, will bring the story of Shirley Chisholm to life in a movie about the late legend's 1972 run for president. According to reports in the Entertainment Weekly and Global Grind, the fighting Shirley Chisholm isn't going to be a biopic, but a snapshot of Chisholm's political career.
Boogie, what do you think about Chisholm coming to the big screen? Like, I don't know. I'm kind of torn on how I feel about that.
I mean, I'm curious.
I hate it just purely. Man, listen, I hate it purely from the standpoint is that I never feel like our Black heroes.
I'm sorry, Carmen is right. Get that next $2,000 check that we gonna get that money and go buy that conceal and carry, my guy.
Load up on ammo. Just limited out that joint. But I hate it because we never get an accurate, fair Black portrayal of our Black leaders. Now, and hopefully this will be the case because, listen, Shirley Chisholm was a phenomenally powerful Black woman who faced tremendous adversity
Backlash. Oh my God.
Unbelievable odds.
from many within the Black Miss leadership
Yes,
class
indeed.
who refused to support her, but would turn around and support.
Can we say a lot of that came from the Black church? But we're not going to talk about that tonight.
No, it did.
Okay.
The Black Miss leadership class.
Okay.
Blackballed Sister Chisholm and did not allow, who was immensely instrumental in change in so many ways. And I hope they do her story justice. I just don't have faith that they.
I'm torn because the story of Shirley Chisholm is one that needs to be told and told again and told again and told again. That's the reason why I'm torn, is because most times when they do a story like this for TV, for movies, whatever, it never does the person their just due. And I know it's not fair because there's only but so much that you can put of someone's life in 2 hours. Shirley Chisholm's however many years of her dedicated service compared to 2 hours that you got to sit there and watch what happened. But it always seems like they miss the mark with some of these biopics.
I think we have to do a better job of expectation too. And I just say it from, remember, we live and I'm saying we live in a capitalistic society. So part of these people putting this stuff out, it's going to highlight and show us a part of our heroes, but ultimately these folks want to make
money.
Yeah.
So here we go. We see our girl Carmen once again. You know, she's about all the smoke. She's saying that she wants, if Viola Davis ain't playing her, she don't want to see it.
That's ironic, Carmen, because Viola was a player.
That's not good enough for you, Carmen.
Viola was a player, actually, at one point, back in 2018.
Back in 2018, yeah.
Yeah, but she had to step off. But it's being directed by Sherian Davis, who directed Ozark for Netflix.
Is she a sister? I don't know who that is.
I'm not familiar.
Okay.
I'm not.
I
mean,
Ozark.
I don't think
Ozark is cool,
Ozark
but
is phenomenal. But I don't think it's a Black woman who did Ozark. I'm
not sure if it was a Black man that did the script. His name is Adam County.
Okay, we'll need to investigate that a little bit more and find out.
I'll watch it. Yeah, I'll watch it, and you know,
I'll hope for the best. I mean, I've been disappointed. I've been disappointed a number of times as well. You know what I'm saying? So, but I'm thinking that, you know, the industry is showing some cracks in the independent side, and maybe a few decent writers are coming through. I mean, I know a couple of those decent writers have been trying to break through for years and put some real heart into our stories. So maybe, maybe I don't know who these guys are, but maybe there's someone in the mix, a producer that's putting some righteousness into the shit and some real shit in that, like the Black church. Some real shit. You know what I'm saying? That. So hope we can only hope.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you, I had an opportunity sometime the beginning of in November, to sit with our brothers on We Come From Bad News podcast. Shout out to Inyaze and Al. Had an opportunity to actually sit down and talk to Keith Knight, who is the creator and writer for the Hulu TV show called Woke, right? And he was talking about not just his process, but also man, I told you when I see you in these streets.
Listen, we're gonna talk about woke, or we're not gonna talk about woke.
Listen, when I'm gonna hit up Keith and I'm gonna have him on the show so we can really talk about the show for real,
bro.
Because it's bananas. But I had an opportunity to sit down and talk to him, ask him some questions and so on. And you could check that episode out with our homeboys over at We Come From Bad News, their podcast. But he was talking about how there seems to be this growth of Black talent now finally starting to emerge and having an opportunity to work with these different people. And it was good to hear and see that, because he's been trying to get his foot, according to him, off the ground for a very long time and going through the process of going to these boardrooms and seeing nothing but white faces and being
James. I won't go to you, bro. I won't get no spoilers, bro.
No spoilers, no spoilers, no spoilers, Jay.
One that it would just make people not want to watch the show.
I
So,
would do the man to come back. I'm not going to just shut his whole season down. He wants people to go to the Hulu and watch the show. He's getting back. I'm happy for him because he already got greenlit for a second season. So let's go ahead and get that back.
I'm not going back.
I appreciate the growth in writers, but I also want the growth in studios. I want the growth in publishing houses. Okay, I want publishing houses. I want licensing houses. Okay, it's cool to push the pen because I know what it is to be a creative. But I have been praying for the business, for the right business cat who's not trying to rap too to get this shit right. You know what I mean? So I do hope there's some growth in that area as well.
No doubt.
Maybe schism it will be a sign of the right direction. But you know, it's always a coin toss. So they got to make the paper. That's what I put down. You know, I mean, no disrespect to Mr. Guerrero. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I can see certain reasons why they chose Mr. Guerrero for the role.
This is why I love doing this show and doing it live because we got the funky clingers coming in on the show and putting down these. Said, okay, all the folks that stormed the building yesterday, stormed the Capitol building, were Antifa plugs, and that we need to wake up sheeple, paid Antifa insiders.
Bro, we're not giving no folks that type of energy, bro. Nah.
I'm sorry.
We don't even get that energy.
Let's wrap it up, man. Let's wrap it up, my guy. We good. All right. Right about now is the time that we'd like to give you little bits of the tidbits of news and wisdom that you can take with yourself into the week. So, Crush, what's up, man?
Well, I have to send my condolences out to one of the most influential and groundbreaking artists in hip hop culture and hip hop history, Mr. Daniel Dumas.
Yeah.
Or Mr. Daniel Dumale. I wish I knew also known as Zev Love X, and more recently known as MF Doom. Yes, I'm not aware of his Muslim attribute, so I respect too.
I wish I did.
I wish I did too, because a lot of the Brotherhood has come out, and I would love to pay my respects in that manner. Mm-hmm. Nevertheless, Zev Love X, somebody I was introduced to back in '91. I heard Peace Fuzz in an auditorium at Hampton Auditorium at Howard University at a hip hop conference, and I was blown away. Years later, after the group falls apart and all that tragedy, this guy pops up drunk in an open mic that we were hosting.
Murdered
the shit in front of us. Proceeded to do this New York thing, all in our face, like you shoot niggas this, you shoot niggas that. But he was mad cool. So this was before the mask, right? And so when Operations Doomsday dropped, I was so puzzled. But when I got into it, I saw a kindred spirit. You know what I'm saying? I saw a kindred spirit. You know, a brother that chose to break all rules, but still kept this. The 90s told us to push the shit, to push the envelope, but y'all didn't listen. He did. He took that shit to a whole different dimension, and y'all were along for the ride. So, rest in peace to that brother.
No doubt. L, what's up for tonight, man?
Man, I wish I had some good news, some uplifting news. Oh, actually, I don't.
You were terrible, my
listen, man. I just want people to be paying attention, man.
I just find it so hard to have you on the show sometimes because you get
the NFL.
Y'all need couple therapy. I'll mediate. You know what I'm saying? I'll mediate.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Too many therapists as it is. That's problem.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
But the NFL is at it again, man. The past week or so, we've seen a number of head coaches be fired from their jobs, man. And all of a sudden, here we come. The Rooney Rule. And one man out there who should get a job. He should have the pick.
Eric Anemone, yeah.
He should have the pick of his job. And if Eric, brother, if you're listening, go to Jacksonville. They're going to have the first overall pick. Trevor Lawrence is going to be right there. Take that man, and you have a franchise quarterback to get your career started properly. but they already on that bullshit, man. It's just keep an eye on it, man, and send some prayers and some positive vibes for Eric, man, that he finally gets the job that
not just that he gets the job, that he gets to a place where he actually is going to be given a chance to do something. Because I'm a Jets fan and I would love to have him be the head coach, but I wouldn't even want to put him through that type of bullshit, my guy. Like, no joke.
There too.
Yeah. What's up for me tonight, man, is that yesterday, amongst all of the foolishness,
here we go.
Can I?
your lead came in the mail. You got your.
No, my new glow in the dark bond came yesterday, so I'm very excited. Anyway, so yesterday, amongst all of the foolishness, right? Congress reconvened again at 8 p.m. to try and finally certify the electoral votes and so on. At 2 a.m., as they were going through this process, apparently Andy Harris, a Republican from Maryland, he must be from Southern Maryland, so a Republican from Maryland tried to fight a Democratic congressman from Texas, Mr. Colin Elred. Colin is actually a former NFL linebacker. And he's a big boy. So why this dude thought that he would try to push up on Colin, maybe Colin comes across as a little soft when he's at work, I don't know. But why he thought he could just push up on him like that kind of blows my mind. The biggest part about that kind of blew me is the fact that Nancy Pelosi apparently had to come and step in and break the fight up to try and make sure they didn't come to blows. So Nancy Pelosi came and did like Judge Mills Lane between Mike Tyson and Holyfield. It was like, nah, we can't have this go on in the house. We already had foolishness today already.
I did not see that.
True story. It's footage out there.
I did not see that. Oh my God! I got to see that. You trying to go with the Texas boy?
White people storm the damn Capitol, man, and everybody loses their goddamn mind. All right. I want to thank you guys for joining. Actually, before I do that, I apologize. My bad, guys. Please, you guys crush. Tell the good folks where they can find you if they'd like to find you, man.
Yeah, please check me out on Instagram on SP Methods, aka Bridge, or the Orange Crush with a K. My wife and I are coming back with our podcast soon.
No doubt. Elgin. Boogie, tell these good folks how they can find you. It's on the screen,
man. It's on the screen at Elgin Bailey.
Why do you just talk? Because you know that this is an audio podcast. People can't see that. You know that, right?
They should watch.
This is why people keep jumping away from this because they don't like you, man. What's going on?
Shout out to all our first and last time listeners.
Shout out to all the first time listeners and last time listeners.
Hey, come on.
At Elgin Bailey on Twitter, man. At Elgin Bailey.
Sorry.
No doubt. And I'm Big O, Mr. In the Black himself. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at MR_InTheBlack. And I want to thank you guys once again, all the folks that came into the comment section, all you guys that are watching, and ultimately all you guys that are listening as well. I want to thank you for joining us for another incredible episode of the In the Black podcast. You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here kicking it with us, and we appreciate it. Make sure that you follow us across all social media at In the Black PDCST, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and as always, informed, intelligent, in the black.
In the black.
Peace.
Peace.